Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, home of the BitSquad, the largest, the greatest crypto community in all of the interwebs. It's around the blockchain. My name is DZ, and we come to you Monday through Friday at 5:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about your favorite topics with your favorite guests, and today, yet another panel. We've never had these four on, and we're going to go and start on the top right. He's blue da-ba-dee-da-ba-da, talking about my buddy Johnny Hopper, also known Johnny Crypto. Catch him at the motocross. Catch him crossing people up on the basketball court even. Then on the bottom right, we have RiceTVx. He was talking about McAfee before it was cool. You're definitely going to want to stick around and see what he says on the third topic. Then on the bottom left, he's trying to trick everybody thinking he's brother by growing his beard out. No, it is Altcoin Daily. We're not going to say which one it is, but you guess in the comments and see if you get it right. Then on the top left, we have Kelly, straight from the Crypto Jeb team, now part of the BitSquad. We love having him here. And Kelly, it's your first time on this show, correct, or second?
No, it's the first time on the show here, and I'm just happy to be here. Yeah. All
right, we're gonna throw you under the bus and give you all the hard questions. But before we talk about, we're gonna talk about the ETH bounty. What are there bugs? What do you get paid if you find one? Also, Uniswap getting into NFTs, swapping NFTs, swapping JPEGs, and we're gonna go over: did John Mcafee fake his death? We're gonna, yeah. That's the rumor floating around. But before we cover those topics, let's look at the crypto market, see where things are heading. And we're slightly in the green. Nothing crazy, nothing to write home about, nothing to, open a leverage trade on, of course. But we have Bitcoin up about 1% and Ethereum up about 2%, 21,700 and around pushing close to 1,700 here. Now, I'm going to bring it to you, Johnny. Let's talk about the ETH merge. We could usually talk about Bitcoin, but ETH has all the big news. I look at the weekly, they're roughly around the same. Bitcoin's down 7%, ETH's down 9%. Do you expect a sell the rumor, buy the news? Is all the action going to be leading up to the Ethereum merge, post Ethereum merge, or both? It's just going to be chaos for 2-3 weeks here.
I'm actually hoping for both. I mean, typically we've been seeing more of a tradition of things being priced in beforehand. Like people behind the scenes actually know what's going on before it actually gets released. So we see a huge price movement, and we see that with the Fed, with inflation and everything. I know I've been on the wrong side expecting, hey, we're going to have a higher inflation, higher interest rates. And then I just get tanked in some of my shorts when it comes to the S&P 500. So I do think that we're going to have a huge move here soon. And I think Ethereum is kind of backed up into the corner, because if you look at the charts between Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're almost identical. Ethereum follows so closely to Bitcoin. It's like the little big brother, and Ethereum is doing whatever it can. Ethereum, we all talk about it like breaking out of that zone and kind of being the flipping per se. And this is one of those things that potentially could be a catalyst to start, a long-term transition to Ethereum overtaking Bitcoin more as like a use case and et cetera. And so with the bounty here, they can't fail, because all tides kind of raise all ships. If Ethereum doesn't perform after this merge, I believe we could see a new low in crypto. But if it does go how they're expecting it, that's why I believe that they're putting out as big of a bounty, is they can't have it fail. And so I'm actually expecting, I'm betting big on Ethereum, moving above the $2,000 make range come, second week of September, and then finding support right there after the merge. We'll see the big move, and then we'll see it hold off. So
yeah, Johnny's bringing up the bounty. We'll throw you 1 second, but the bounty, if you can find a critical bug in the software, they have quadrupled the amount that they are going to give you. At first, they were going to give you just a paltry $250,000. Now they have upped that bounty. If you can find something wrong, it is $1 million heading your way. So yeah, but you talk about some of these dates. We have September 10th through the 20th is the tentative date for the merge happening, and the big switchover happening on the 6th, and it's going to be about 4 to 7, 8 days after that. Now, Altcoin Daily, I want to ask you, Johnny's talking about, what is priced in, But I'm not going to try to pin you down on a price target here, but I want to pin you down on,
you know me too well,
bullish or bearish. What scenario do you think is going to be priced into ETH leading up? Is it the bullish scenario is priced in, and if it goes well, maybe not too much action, or is it the bearish scenario priced in, where if it does go well, nice gains, but if it goes wrong, semi-priced in?
DZ, thanks for having me on the channel. I think that this level of bug bounty program, $1 million, if you can find anything before the merge to, veer off from disaster, speaks to the level of significance this is for the crypto market and the level of awareness this is for the world. Because the world right now is watching the Ethereum merge, the biggest upgrade with the biggest user base that I think crypto's ever seen, because Bitcoin doesn't really get these major upgrades. That's the use case of Bitcoin. It stays the same. It's more of a store of value. You hold. Maybe the biggest thing in Bitcoin's past was the splitting off of Bcash back in the day, but that was it. And Bitcoin obviously won. So I think that, the level of awareness we have right now for ETH is huge. So to answer your question, I think we're going to see, bullishness. I think it's going to be buy the rumor, sell the news in some respect into the merge, or maybe the week before the merge. Who knows? Now, I know none of that ETH is getting unlocked. That was all staked for ETH2 contract, not until the next 6 to 12 months. But just the level of awareness right now that is on crypto, that is on this upgrade, to me says it's going to be, we're going to rise into it, or maybe a week before and then dump, because ultimately nothing's going to change the next day, for the end user. It's what this means for ETH, a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line.
All right, Rice, I want to bring up, speaking about years down the line, this kind of reminds me of, a lot of people painting a doom and gloom scenario, and a lot of people are saying, what are you talking about? This is going to happen smoothly. Reminds me of Y2K. Do you see any similarities here? And, do you expect maybe something similar, like it makes a good headline, it makes a good tweet, it makes a good video? So they're kind of painting these scenarios that maybe not based in reality, but, maybe fictionalizing or sensationalizing here. Do you think there's a little bit of sensationalization here, or people genuinely concerned because, there's a lot of money locked up here?
I think it's a combination of the two. And thank you again for having me back going around the blockchain. I do appreciate. As far as this merge is going, I mean, we're looking between the 10th and the 20th, and they're kind of thinking around the 15th it's going to take place. And the idea of what they're doing, going from proof of work to proof of stake and changing the consensus mechanism while everything is running, a lot of people have compared it to like a car going 100 miles an hour and trying to change the engine. So unfortunately and fortunately, all eyes are on Ethereum. All the competitors that are trying to compete against what Ethereum is doing is hoping that they will fail. So offering up these bounties is a great idea. For one, it incentivizes the white hats to be able to help find exploits and critical bugs before they actually go public with the launch. And with the fact that you have all eyes on ETH, no pun intended, literally, they can't fail. They're too big to fail. And I've talked about the Ethereum Foundation. I've talked about the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. And the fact of bounties is actually not anything new. It's not new to Ethereum Foundation. It's not new to crypto. And it's not new to like open software, the whole idea of that whole ecosystem. So I think it's great that we're incentivizing hackers and good coders to be able to find these exploits, because if we see some sort of failure or some critical issues that take place as the merge is going on, it's going to be really detrimental for crypto as a whole, because it's just going to give more ammunition for the media organizations to just spout all their negative rhetoric that they've been doing about decentralized cryptocurrencies.
All right. Now, Rice, I think Kelly, he brought up a good metaphor there. He was saying, it's kind of like a car going 100 miles per hour and trying to change the engine, but maybe we haven't had an engine swap, but we did get a flat tire probably 6-7 years ago. I remember, ETH, it did have an issue. Someone was able to steal, I think, 40,000 Ethereum, lots of Ethereum, millions of dollars at the time, and then which ended up leading to ETH Classic. Now, we have this fork and, led to a lot of events. Some say even the birth of Cardano. Could ETH survive another such event? If there's a little infighting, no consolidation, I don't want to say if it failed, but what if people couldn't agree, ended up going two different directions? can the ecosystem handle that? Is there enough money in the system to handle that, or do you expect, maybe both coins to get pulled down price wise?
Well, I do definitely think that it will survive. It's such a massive industry in itself. I mean, they really were the advent of this whole smart contract, sort of the layer one solutions. And they've done such an excellent job of not only building a community, but building use cases. So the thing that I keep coming back to right now, with if the price is going to move up into the merge, what's going to happen, all this is still, we're tied to two major narratives right now. One of them being what's going on global economics wise, with inflation, with the dollar just crushing global trade right now, because nations are having a hard time servicing their debt because of how expensive the US dollar is. So that's stealing all this momentum. But then we talk about Luna and everything going on with Luna. There's a lot of skepticism in the space for any of the new people that are still in it. So all this ties back into even what's going on with the bug bounty. This is excellent that they're doing this. They're trying to prevent another major collapse, and it's showing major initiatives, similar with the Vasil hard fork coming up. And they had the test net, and they had some issue that they found in the test net, and somehow there was all this FUD around it. It's like that's where this stuff's supposed to be found. So when you see protocols as they're doing these merges, they're taking it more and more seriously, because of security and efficiency and the legitimacy and just consistent, stable action and servicing on all their contracts is critical. So I think it will survive. If there's something, it would just steal the wind out of. We wouldn't see a bull run probably for another until well after the halving on Bitcoin in 2024. Is that when it is? Yeah.
Yes. So take a page out of Aretha Franklin's book there. Okay. All right. Now let's move on. Talk a little Uniswap. I did pull up the price chart here. Those who don't know the history of Uniswap, it is a decentralized exchange. They did a free airdrop. If you had used Uniswap, I believe it was June of that year, June of 2020. You can see here, fell down to below $2, then went all the way up to about a 25x. Currently trading $7.19. It's ranked 17 in CoinMarketCap, 18 if you ask Richard. But they want to get into NFTs. They say there's a couple issues that need solving. Liquidity, fragmentation. I think there's too many exchanges and there's not enough liquidity. Maybe if you combine all the exchanges, there would be. But when you have, everyone's kind of splitting a pie 7 ways, not enough liquidity there. Also, information asymmetry. You have people, different indicators, people front running others. They want to solve this. They want to get into NFTs this year. Last year, $23 billion worth of NFT trades occurred. And of course, Uniswap, no slouch to the NFT game. They did do Unisox. You can see Vitalik wearing them. I think they hit. You trade in this coin or NFT, I think it was a 721 ERC, trade it in, they would give you just one pair of socks, trading as high as $100,000. I haven't checked. I think it's $40,000. It's worth about 2 Bitcoin, just one pair of these Unisocks. There weren't that many printed. Vitalik wore them, I think, at the last event that he went to. Now, Johnny, we have Uniswap. It's ranked 17 right now. It's about $500 million market cap. You see here $5.3 billion. Fully diluted, not that much higher, only about 7.1 there. Are these moves going to help Uniswap stay relevant? Do you think Uniswap, I think Kelly brought up the next halving 2024. By the next bull run, I mean, is Uniswap still going to be king of the dexes? Is it still going to be a top 20 coin? Will they have the legs to survive or the socks to stand on?
Well, they've already survived, a bear market before. So just if you're looking at time, they can beat a lot of these other ones that don't really have the history behind them. And I'm a big fan of Uniswap. And if you look back at like Warren Buffett and, some of these big investors, they like to invest in companies that have anything over $1 billion, right? Because they feel like it's fairly safe. Here in crypto, there's a lot of coins, maybe 50 of them that are over, I have to look at CoinMarketCap, but 20 to 50 of them that are over $1 billion, which I feel like have the biggest chance of succeeding. And Uniswap being able to exchange between multiple altcoins, I think is imperative to the market. Me, DZ, I know you're a huge, big NFT guy, and I don't think they're a fad. You know, I think they're just an emerging technology that is going to take over. It's so risky right now. I mean, you look at OpenSea, you look at all these other things that it's hard to kind of find things that are going to stick. And I know President Kennedy said that, you know, those who dare to fail greatly can achieve greatly. And so you got to risk to make the big buku bucks here. So I do think Uniswap is doing something good, getting in the NFT market, because they're innovating. They're making sure that they're going to stay around by providing something to the growing user base, you know, because young kids are going to want more of these NFTs. I think it's bullish for everybody that just owns, lack of a better term, coins in Uniswap. You know, I wanted to say shares as stocks, but you know, they're tokens. I think it's bullish, but as a consumer, I have to kind of, when they're getting into like lending platforms, there's not that much money in crypto. And so it scares me because of like Terra and Anchor and, you know, everyone liquidating their coins and liquidating, you know, NFTs because of borrowing. I don't know. As of right now, I'm just going to stay on the sidelines, but I do think it's a good idea. I digress.
I liquidate my socks. No, I meant if I had a Unisox here, I actually pulled it up. It is $30,000 for one pair of Unisox. Oh, look, there's actually ERC 20. So don't attack me for saying 721. But yeah, they're at one point you could trade in for $160,000. Yeah, it literally you burn the token and they give you socks. That is the utility there. All right, now Altcoin Daily, they are taking this a little seriously. Uniswap, they acquired Genie. Genie is a NFT marketplace aggregator. It would make sense for Uniswap to have an NFT aggregator if they're trying to aggregate all the NFT volume. Do you think long-term, though, this is a good strategy? Are they going too wide here and should maybe just focus on just regular tokens?
I think it's tough to, you know, move into these other niches, especially something that's so hot as the NFT space. At least it was last year in 2021. In a lot of ways, NFTs were sort of the killer DApp, at least for last year, that brought the mainstream into crypto. And I just like to look at like the past people that have tried to create these NFT platforms, like GameStop, like Coinbase NFT. They've done all right. Nobody's been really able to recreate what OpenSea did, even though you have the users. And I think in crypto, it's very hard to replicate community. Many other NFT projects try and replicate the community, the Bored Apes, etc. And it's obviously very hard to replicate actual users. So I think this is good for the end consumer because we're going to get more competition in this space besides just OpenSea. And, you know, I think they got a shot just because Uniswap does actually have the user base. Now we'll have to see if, you know, they'll do better than Coinbase NFT or whatever. But if anybody were to do something like this, there's no reason Uniswap shouldn't try.
Okay, good point. Rice, I kind of want to bring that up. Can they beat some of these new competitors? Are they going to beat the GameStop, if Robinhood gets in it? I mean, can they compete with the Coinbase? I think they can beat those, but what about like an OpenSea? Do they have are they too decentralized to go against a centralized entity like OpenSea?
That's a good question, and it would be really fascinating to see what actually comes out of this, you know, so we could see what the power of decentralization can bring, or whether we need to see more centralization in these elements. Because as much of a proponent as I am for decentralization, there's a time and a place for centralization, especially when you're dealing with important data and such. So with that being said, I definitely feel like Uniswap is in a position to be able to expand what they do and to be able to see if these ideas work. Now, what's interesting is I think this is almost more beneficial for the NFT holders, because what could ultimately happen in the article that we were sent, there was a hedging thing that was mentioned, which basically if someone wants to take out a collateralized loan against their NFT versus actually liquidating and get rid of their NFT, and the NFT was to drop in the price below the amount borrowed, then they could just basically put a put option in and it's just liquidated, it's done, and you actually end up kind of winning in that sense as the NFT holder if it goes below the value that you lent for. So I mean, and if you see a lot more situations like that, and I see a lot more volatility ahead, I mean, that could be also detrimental to these entities that are trying to be lending institutions. Now, the idea of basically borrowing on the blockchain, I think, is definitely something that we're going to see more of, and I definitely feel like it's more of the future of banking. But right now, and they even compared this, it made me think about this, but the article at the end compared this to basically the mortgage market and what took place in 2007 and 2008 by over collateralizing and over leveraging. And that's what we're seeing happening with this right now with this NFT lending, this financialization. It's taken things into more of a traditional market element versus being a little bit more innovative with these ideas and trying to start something new.
Yeah, I think there's a good point to that house of cards narrative, or a house of sheets of monkey JPEGs narrative here. Now, Kelly, on that note, SEC seeing, they're going after these traditional exchanges, Kraken, Coinbase, Robinhood. There's a lot of people under their regulatory ire. Can a decentralized exchange survive the regulation? Are they going to be too non-compliant to be able to operate?
Well, that's one of the first things that jumped out at me because of how much sort of spotlight has been on recently with, everything from Tornado Cash to the SEC poking at, just regulation going into Coinbase, Kraken, the letters. It's going all around the entire crypto ecosystem. And the first thing that jumped out at me reading this article was the fact that, it is decentralized, but it highlighted the fact that it was anonymous. And I don't think that that's bad. I actually love the anonymity of things that you can do within the crypto ecosystem. But I think highlighting those sorts of things brings the wrong sort of lens onto the space. But it also goes back to what Rice was saying, and I think all three said this. This lending, I think it's wonderful as a financial tool when you understand the ecosystem, the tools, all of it. But I think far too many people, this was highlighted with Celsius, with Nexo, when the market started dropping after the first peak last year, people were getting liquidated left and right because they were drawing, they were pulling loans from their collateralized crypto, and there was people that had their entire portfolio that they collateralized, and they may have only got some out before the whole thing was liquidated. And so I think the number one thing that's most important right now in the space, and I commend every one of the YouTubers that are here on the channel and anybody else that's putting out content on a daily basis, that education and getting people the knowledge of the tools, not just the availability of them, but understand how to use them so that they can be a tool that helps you succeed, not just a tool that you use improperly and then all of a sudden your portfolio is gone. So I think communication's key here.
Yeah, 100%. And all right, speaking of communication, there's a little missing communication. What happened to John McAfee? I'm just going to go over some of the notes here. So it's the ex-girlfriend of John McAfee. There's a Netflix documentary coming out shortly. I can't remember. I think it was the New York Post. Somebody got a hands on this documentary, and they have quotes from the girlfriend. After his death, this is what she alleged. After his death, I got a call from Texas from him, and he asked me to run away with him while maintaining that she said, only 3 people in the world that know he is still alive. Her name is Samantha Herrera. Those who don't know, it's reported he died in a Spanish jail after extradition charges were brought to him. He was going to be brought to America to face charges for tax evasion. And, among other things, he's probably most commonly known for his bet that if Bitcoin didn't hit $500,000 by July of 2020, he was going to eat his own Vienna sausage. And then after, of course, this was, he extradited that was approved on June 23rd, and it was just a few hours after that he was found dead in his prison cell. Rice, you've actually talked to his ex-wife. I'm just going to pass the mic to you. What are your thoughts on this entire thing?
Okay, so one, I'm going to be going live at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time on my channel tonight and talking about this. So I'm not going to give all the details of what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Also, I've had the privilege. I want to share a lot. I've had the privilege of interviewing John McAfee more times than anybody else. 7 interviews. He recorded a speech for a conference that I attended. I did get to interview his wife, Janice, as her first public interview after John's death. John did not kill himself. He was found dead in his cell. His body still has not been released. So I want to bring attention to that. There is a petition going on that I encourage people to go and sign. Now, as for this documentary, I watched it. I watched all of it right before we did this live stream today. I did some homework also for my live stream. And the documentary is all right. It's called Running with the Devil. It's a pretty decent documentary. I'm not going to really diss it. It really kind of fills in some insider kind of information, kind of gives a different glimpse into things. And since I was able to interview him throughout the whole time period of him being on the run, I got to see kind of other aspects of things that I was already familiar with. So I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I felt like they did a really good job at the very end of the whole documentary as far as trying to show some tribute, pay tribute to John McAfee. But the only thing I really did not like, was at the very end, and it was like an hour and 43 minutes into it with like 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. They brought on one of his ex-girlfriends from Belize, and obviously he had many, but there was this one in particular, and they had interviewed her throughout the documentary, which was great, but at the end she said the gibberish that you repeated, and basically that's been sensationalized. And at the end, when she said that, she also looked at the camera, gave like this really like dishonest smirk, in my opinion, and then the camera cut. It felt very unauthentic compared to her earlier statements and her earlier interviews, because it was all part of the same process. But when she was talking about her actual relationship, everything felt more authentic. The end felt very fake, and it was just to sensationalize and to put out a lot of media information so they can try to push people to watch this new documentary that came out today on Netflix.
Now,
Just
Altcoin
BS.
Daily, I'm gonna give you a choice. I respect you so more than these other. No, I'm just kidding. Do you want to talk about his whacked token or his bet? Which would you rather go down?
I know more about the bet.
Okay, so his bet was, by July 2020, Bitcoin is going to reach $500,000. Now, we don't try to, say, hey, tell me, when is this going to happen? Exactly the date. I need it now, Austin. Is it going to happen, though? Do you still believe the narrative that Bitcoin will hit 500K? And, you don't need an exact year, but is this happening before that beard turns white?
I mean, I recently put out a video saying, best case maybe by 2030, but that's sort of the fun of Bitcoin, right? That's sort of the reason everybody comes in this space in the first place, because they see these price appreciations, and then you learn about the revolution, the technology along the way. Now, for me, the reason that I know this wasn't John McAfee, I know he's not alive, is because if this was John McAfee, he would have released this in a bull market. That's what he was great at, getting the hype of those bull market vibes, not so much in a bear market. So, plus the other thing is, he has a wife, but he chose to reach out through the ex-girlfriend. I don't know, DZ. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's especially after hearing Rice's portrayal of how it was said, how someone says something is just as important as the words. I actually pulled up your channel right here. Go sub to his channel if you're not. The real reason Bitcoin will hit 500K. I hope they don't bring that up next rundown. You're saying he said it was going to happen this week. I don't think that's what you're saying, but you're saying by 2030. I like that. By 2030, it's possible. I'll agree. Let us know in the comments.
Very responsible
when do you
and very
think?
safe of you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, two.
Hey, but if
runs.
inflation continues, it could be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Well, yeah, it only
And
buys
that's
a
why
gallon of
John-
milk.
that
That was the
so
rub. It is
that's
worth
the whole
500K.
basis that was the whole basis for McAfee's bet, though, was that he was betting on the dollar to be inflated so much that we would see $1 million Bitcoin. It wasn't that we were going to see it in the normal terms of what $1 million might have meant to us 10 years ago versus what it means today. Because, look at Zimbabwe with the hyperinflation that took place there. There were a lot of millionaires there. Yeah, there were a lot of millionaires there, but that $1 million bill wouldn't have bought you, even a candy bar.
Yeah. Now, Johnny, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this inflation narrative. I mean, I do think we all agree Bitcoin, as time goes on, it will buy, just as a commodity, I'll just say gallons of milk, even though I'm lactose intolerant. I think it will buy more gallons of milk. Of course, I think the dollar will weaken. What is your timeline for this 500K? I mean, does 2030 seem like a good number? What number would you hop onto?
Oh, hit me on the spot. Well, I honestly, truthfully, I'd have to go with Altcoin Daily about the next 10 years, right? Because over time we've seen 8,000% gains in bull markets with Bitcoin, but we're talking from like $2 to $1,000. Now you're going to need trillions and trillions of dollars to move the market, right? So in order for Bitcoin to be $500,000, it needs to overtake gold. So it needs to do, a 10x in as far as market cap goes. And it's going to take a lot of trust, and it's going to take a lot of regulation and a lot of big hedge funds and big money, and unfortunately big banks that have big buku dollars in order to get something over that. So I think it's going to happen here in like the next 10 years or so. Truthfully, if I had to go with answering your question, DZ, but on the McAfee deal is it seems like a hyperbole as far as just clickbait. Everyone gets mad at YouTubers for clickbaiting, but then Netflix, as the centralized entity, is doing the exact same thing. And like what Rice was saying, if he was potentially dead in his cell, not by he didn't commit suicide, why on earth would a girlfriend reach out to a media outlet and say something? Because then her life and her people, her friends and family would be at risk too. So I think it's definitely just clickbait for sure.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of 2028s in the chat here. So it seems like the year everybody's. Johnny, you fell off the bike too many times. Everybody knows it's September 27th, 2028. Everyone knows
concussions,
that.
man. It happens.
All right. Let's talk about McAfee's legacy here. Kelly, I mean, most people, we're in crypto. We all know about the Bitcoin bet. That's kind of the funny thing. The whacked token. It's more macabre than anything, but he did launch a coin called Whacked 3 years before he passed, maybe 2.5 years. But let's talk about the software. Do you think the software have they moved past his legacy? Can anything that happens with McAfee affect the software company? I'm looking at their numbers. They have $5.4 billion worth of assets, relatively strong valuation. This isn't just some small protocol. This is a huge company. Will this affect their legacy?
Well, I mean, I think it will have some sort of spillover effect. But I mean, the first thing I thought about when you brought it up is the number one scam that I get on my email about 4 times a week, and it has nothing to do with their company, but it's a company like impersonating that I have a refund due for my McAfee antivirus software, which I haven't had for probably since 1996. But I think they're going to push through it. But I also want to reference back to the bet. I think a lot of people gave him flack that he made the bet and we didn't get there. I think what he was a master promoter. He was a genius with what he did with coding and engineering and the business he built. But I really think that he was trying to create a spectacle that was highlighting the fact that this is a possibility, even if he's wrong by 5 years or 10 years. Can you imagine any asset individual going from zero to $1 million on this ultra scarce just Bitcoin? I mean, it's unfathomable 15 years ago, and then Bitcoin came around, and it's the world is starting to see this. And I do think we're going to get these phases where we get really strong pushes up, and I just want to caution everybody, just like what happened this last cycle. We started pushing up to 60, 64. We crashed back down, and then we had a secondary second top up around 69, and people were just going all in thinking it was going to go to 100. And although I think of it as almost as close to a guarantee as possible without making the guarantee, unless there's a world catastrophe that takes down all markets, I can't see it not happening. Whether it's in 10 years or 20 years is irrelevant to me. I'm playing the long game. I'm doing, I do some smaller term, very small portion of my portfolio trading just to accumulate more Bitcoin. But the majority of my coins, my holdings, that's long-term investment. I don't touch it anymore. I just trade on small things just for some extra coin here and there. But I think people just need to take the long-term view and stop worrying about this 4-hour, 6-year, long-term view, because it's going there, baby. No doubt.
Yeah, Kelly leverage trades 50x Terra Luna classic. I'm looking at some of the chat. They're saying he should have gone through with his bet. He should have live streamed it on Twitch. A bet is a bet. Bet's a bet. But I think
but everyone here does believe that Bitcoin is going to $1 million at some point, right? in the
Yeah, I
long,
would say it's
long-
fair in my
long
lifetime. But
term.
that is all we have time for today. And it looks like Rice narrowly edged out Johnny. He hopped past 1 point there. Rice, feel free, leave us with some parting thoughts. Heard a rumor you got a video coming out tonight.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I will be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern time, going into a lot more detail with the McAfee situation, talking about the documentary. I do appreciate it again for having me back on. Make sure you guys are following all the guests' social medias and channels. Make sure that you're following and subscribed over at RiceTVx on YouTube. I'm 65 subscribers away from 30,000. Make sure you sign that John McAfee petition. You can also check out my playlist in my playlist section with all my interviews with John McAfee and Janice McAfee.
All right.
Have a good one.
Hit that sub button on all the channels here, Rice. We got to get them past the price of a Unisox. So let's get them past that 30K mark. And that is all we got time for today. But make sure you hang out. Frankie Candles. Yeah, they're hanging out in the chat right now. Join. He's about to go live. That's all we got time for today.
Hit me up, Frankie.
Easy out. Hit him up, Frank.